All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of One Take. It's been quite a while since I've done one of these before, but I got everything set up now, and I've actually been wanting to talk about this specific subject we're about to talk to today. But before we do that, I want to bring in our recurring guest here, who has been on the show for a while. Yoshi, welcome back to the show, sir.
Glad glad to be back. How are you?
I am doing okay. I'm pretty sure everybody has been kind of stressed out with the this year specifically and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Lots of stuff has been happening this year, but it's been allowing me to do more stuff like this at least. So I'm hoping to at least bring my podcast back every once in a while, so that I can just bring out more episodes to everybody who watches these still on YouTube. My 31 subscribers, thank you. How long has it been actually? It's been what, like 2 years since we've done the last one together?
Yeah, just looking at the Discord activity, it's been almost 2 year, two
Oh,
plus years.
yeah, that's wow. I can't believe it's been that long. um, but yeah, today's episode is kind of a special one because it's a show I've been watching for a very long time now. But you just started watching it when it just premiered on Netflix this year. Um,
Yeah. The probably a week or so after the Netflix release, it came out on Netflix. I started watching it.
And that show that we're talking about today that just released on Netflix is Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai was a show that was originally premiered on YouTube Premium, which I actually got for only just this show because I was already interested from it just from the trailers alone. Admittedly, I did think it had a chance of being bad because the trailers don't really sell on the show. I feel because once I started the show, once I watched all of season one when it was all on YouTube Premium at the time, I really loved this show. And then season two came out a year after in 2019, which was also really good in my opinion. A lot darker than the previous season was, honestly. But you didn't watch it until Netflix this year.
Correct. To me, the when Cobra Kai was announced, it was just like it's on YouTube or Premium. It's like I there was enough streaming services before this whole influx of this year alone, but it's like I don't want to pay for another premium that I'll forget about in a couple of years. And it's like you said, Cobra Kai as a show when we first saw it on the VGA show and trailers, just it didn't hook me, and it was in the middle of all the reboots, tag along, and I'm just thinking I mean, it looks interesting, but it's not worth it for me to pay a premium service just to see it.
Yeah. I totally get what you mean because I admittedly I had some doubts of the show when it first had the trailers because I was like, oh boy, a Karate Kid sequel technically, and we all know like some sequels haven't been good like the others have. And then there was the 2010 reboot slash remake in a way with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan. Even though
Mm-hmm.
it's not karate, it's kung fu. They said even in the movie. Did you see that movie by the way?
I did not. I actually the one I can vividly recall seeing is Karate Kid 2. I don't even think I saw 3, but plus I mean the reason I saw it on Netflix is I'm already paying Netflix, slightly ignoring Netflix, but so when it just seems like okay, it's here, it's been talked about enough, and people who I also hang around with. They've been pumping up. Oh, you gotta see Cobra Kai. Gotta see Cobra Kai. It's like, fine, I'll watch it. There's nothing else on at the moment. I've seen all my shows, so you know why not?
Yeah, I eventually watched it too when I saw all the reviews for it when it first was coming out with reviews for season one, and I was like, oh, that's actually really high scores it's getting. So I was like, okay, maybe I should give it a shot. And let me tell you, I don't regret at all giving it a shot because I love this show so much.
Same.
What were your general thoughts when you saw season one first time?
The general thought is like Johnny's character. They kept portraying. I kept getting a sense of like he's this he's positioned as this, kind of a former high school athlete who can't. That's his only major life accomplishment up until this point. And as he's establishing Cobra Kai, with Justin as Miguel to start with, and he's slowly trying to build the student base. Like he's really trying to grab onto that glory days of when he was, part of Cobra Kai in the movie scene. Is like he just needs that um, feeling of being the man, kind of, and so it slowly trying to push back against the of current modern day society.
That's definitely an interesting viewpoint of seeing Johnny because like I kind of saw it as something like, like obviously he in the beginning of the series you see him like really like in a bad shape, like
Mm-hmm.
he's not in the best shape at all possible with his life ever since he lost the tournament in a way you could say too. It changed
Right.
his life. Which is funny though because if you watch Karate Kid 2, he gives Daniel the trophy and even like congratulates him and then Kreese is like against him at the end. So
Right.
it's
So that, but then pretty much you see that one glimpse of it at the end of the tournament, but then as he's building the his dojo, he reverts back to old Cobra Kai mentality, and that's where he falls on to get back to where he was. Doesn't the 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 ending scene, the beginning scene in two just seems an afterthought. It was a natural reaction, but in dojo, it's like this is what Cobra Kai's principles are. Here's how he got here. Here's how he got there. Yeah, Daniel beat me, but this is what Cobra Kai stands for. And that was the whole mentality. And it was just to me trying to recapture that feeling of being the dojo to be at the, during when he was a student.
yeah, and you could also say in a way, watch after watching the show, like that the tournament changed Daniel in a way too,
Mm-hmm.
because
Definitely.
he's more arrogant in the show. You could say
Oh,
when you first see him.
that's his whole linchpin of his business. He was the man who won at the tournament.
The funniest scene when you first see him again in the season 1 is when he's talking to Johnny at his car dealership place and he's like, hey, you wanna know how I did it? I kicked his face. That was just like the me to me like that's arrogant Daniel coming out.
Oh, totally. That's just like the beginning of the entire series.
Yeah, and then like after that, it slowly starts to get into more of the roots of how Cobra Kai is built. After Johnny
Mm-hmm.
decides to take his stepfather's money, you could say,
Yeah.
and then he starts his first student is Miguel, his neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Miguel a little bit because I want to say up front he's actually one of my favorite teen characters of the show. He has a lot of great arcs in the show, from being good to somewhat even being bad towards the end of the season 1 to being good again towards season 2 and stuff like that. Like you can tell like some characters in this show have like redemption arcs in some ways, you could say. Um, what did
Miguel is a fascinating character because he latches on. Johnny takes him on is more of like, okay, here's how to defend yourself against, what kind of who I say initiated the entire series. But I mean, he latches on to Johnny because kind of as a father figure, but also kind of teaching him how to defend himself, and then he falls in love with Sam and the whole teenage arc of that narrative, but then interweaves into the whole Cobra Kai mentality. So it's just fascinating to watch it from his point of view, and the events that lead up to episode 10 of season 2 is just heartbreaking very teen drama, but still, it's just, gosh, it's just watching the ending scenes is just breaking my heart.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, it's like everybody in season two, by the end of it, essentially gets a bad ending. Like nobody wins,
No,
essentially.
yeah,
N-
no one wins at all in season two.
And like, I know they're probably gonna fix that within season three, which we'll get to eventually about our predictions of season three. But by the end of season two, you're just like, oh, everybody's just in a mess now.
I take that back. Aisha's the probably only one who they don't show any fallback, blowout, blowback from that because she wasn't even in that scene. But we can get to that later.
Yeah, we could definitely get to that later on.
But yeah, like all the major principals, they have no happy ending to speak of.
Yeah, nobody gets a happy ending in season two. But I want to talk more about the characters as well.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Johnny, Daniel, Miguel. Then there was the second student of Cobra Kai, which was Aisha, who I felt was more of a major character in season one than she was in season two to me.
Oh, definitely.
What did you? I liked Aisha actually. I thought she was pretty funny, and the way she kicked ass is pretty cool too, in my
Oh
opinion.
yeah, I like. See, that was kind of like one of the things I liked about, like maybe kind of like Johnny should have sold the business more. Here's a way of the reaching out to the out group of kids, so to speak, at the school, and here's how to defend yourself instead he took the offensive attack. But anyway, but yeah, just the way he was trying to position, and Aisha was just nice counterplay to Sam, seeing the geeky kids hanging out, and seeing her transformation throughout this first season. And I think she would have been a. I wish they kind of gave her more screen time in season two, but the couple times she was in season two, they gave, I don't know, the world a little bit more context for everybody.
Um, I mean, but if you do see at the end of season two, though, when Johnny goes to Kreese's dojo, like she's not there, though.
And I thought that was very telling.
So I feel like she could play a big part into season three. I feel
And
like
I really do hope she does, because I think she could pivot some characters in major ways.
because what I think of why she did that is because I think she feels like Miguel's a best friend to
Mm-hmm.
her, and it's like you see your friend have his back broken essentially and shit like that after the fight in season 2 episode 10, so it's like why would you be there for Kreese and stuff like that. Speaking of that, Kreese, he returned at the end of season 1 and was a main cast member of season 2. Martin Cove is the actor's name, who I absolutely love. He's a fantastic guy. He liked a lot of my Cobra Kai tweets on Twitter, which I really appreciate.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What did you think of Martin Cove as Kreese back in the role?
Oh my gosh, he played his role perfectly. The way he was introduced was amazing. Because I didn't even I the way season one was progressing, I think, oh, there's no way they're the way I think at the tournament, I kind of got the feeling that they would try to hint that he might be back or might be coming back in some form. But when the big reveal at the very end was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I hate you already, but I'm kind of wanting to see where you go. But then the way he just affected everything in season two was just amazing. Because when Johnny trails Kreese into where he's actually living at the time, thinking, okay, is he is Johnny gonna try, or is Johnny's lifestyle gonna affect him in some way? But then you find out, no, Kreese is still Kreese, and even Johnny's former teammates, kind of like, no, there's no redemption to him. You got to get him out now. And by the time Johnny realizes that, it's way too late for everybody.
Yeah,
But yeah, Kreese was just he played his role perfectly in the way I expected it to be.
Yeah, he really is like a snake, as they say. Like he's like he weasels himself up first, like get try to get his story out of the way, and then by
Mm-hmm.
the end of it, he just strikes. Like he just immediately just goes for the jugular with that
Strikes no mercy.
no mercy. Um, yeah, and then there was a couple of other major characters we didn't talk about. Oh, let's talk about Sam,
Uh huh.
Daniel's daughter. What did you think of Sam?
I actually didn't think too much of her. I thought, okay, she was a nice character to round out, Daniel's life. Since in the modern life, he has a family, has a daughter, teenage daughter. It's just kind of a way into give more background to Miguel's world in the high school. But then all of a sudden, as season two starts, they almost forget the brother, her little brother, essentially. And it's like, oh, they only have one child. Where's the brother? Oh, there he is. But they poured a lot of resources into her, and I thought as they developed her, I think she came to be grow as a character. Maybe she acted in a typical teenager fashion way, but otherwise, yeah, good character.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like I mean, I think she has her really cool moments. Like I think her fight scenes in the mall in season
Oh,
two, episode
yeah,
5.
that mall scene was amazing.
Yeah, and I would also say that obviously the last episode of season 2 with everybody fighting essentially in that episode. Um, and then there's
I will say she bears not all the responsibility, but she kind of forget that she took it to Tori in the roller skating arena too, because I thought, yeah, typical teenage back and forth, but then when she took Tori down, is like, is that really necessary? I understand it, but yeah, I think they accelerated her positioning as a character, you know, towards the back half of season two.
Yeah, and I definitely felt like she definitely had a lot more development in season 2 because
Oh, definitely.
in season 1 she was portrayed more as the love interest, you know. We didn't really see her do karate until season 2 really.
Right, she's like
So,
the she's your she drove the love angle for Miguel and the tension that between the popular kids per se, and then the outcasts, and so that she was mainly there as the window as to the driving to the cliques in the high school.
yeah. Yeah, I would say that as well. I also want we definitely have to talk about Robbie, who is revealed to be Johnny's son at the end of episode 1 season 1, I believe. No, no, episode 2, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, episode 2, I believe, of season 1. Um Robbie is a character that had interesting development, and then by the end of season 2 I was like, "Okay, buddy. What are you doing?" Like really? What did you think of him in throughout the seasons?
Robbie, see, when he first introduced him, it's like, okay, I thought it was pure background to Johnny. It's like, okay, here's this kid. Okay, now we know he has a, a son that pretty much is kind of the reverse of how Johnny grew up, living this, in on the sidelines, totally ignored. But then when he starts, I wouldn't say initially starts as a manipulative way to get back at Johnny by joining the LaRusso Auto Group, but then slowly kind of getting swept in with Daniel and Sam. Is like, kind of, I still don't know how I feel about him. He's just maybe there as a partner, but not really. There's no real good way for me to describe him. How I feel about him.
I just really didn't like what he did to Miguel at the end of season 2. That's for sure because like Miguel was already giving up. He was like, "I'm sorry. I don't want to do this anymore." and then fucking Robbie kicks him over the railing and breaks his back. That to,
there's a lot of problems I have. There's a lot of issues I have with two major fight scenes, but we can get, but that's neither here and there. Robbie, I don't know. I blame that more with the whole. Yeah, maybe Miguel was coming to. Maybe Miguel was finally starting to de-escalate things, but I think the whole mob mentality of both the school and the two dojos kind of sent Robbie over the edge, in my opinion.
and also Sam kissing Miguel at season 2 episode 9. So when that happened, probably.
Yeah, but then that I attribute to more the whole teen dynamic of the thing, and honestly I can understand that. I can. It's not like it came that too far left field.
Yeah, it's honestly I didn't see it. I honestly wasn't shocked when I saw it coming, honestly, because I felt like, oh shit, things are gonna escalate by the end of this.
They totally telegraphed out. You knew at some point that was gonna come with the classic misunderstandings, especially Miguel when he first turned against Sam because okay, her mom took her phone and she was grounded, she couldn't respond, and Miguel's getting frustrated and angrier because she wouldn't respond. It's like, yeah, that was kind of to be expected.
Yeah. This whole the whole idea of like season 2 was just escalation, you could say.
Oh, totally. Everything, everybody escalated everything.
And I almost forgot to mention these characters, but you could say former duo friends, Hawk and Dimitri.
Here, bring them up earlier.
Uh, Dude, did you like either of them personally?
Oh, I liked him as characters, and just to see Eli's divergence of how he was introduced to everybody was amazing, hilarious, sad, all that emotion wrapped into one. And to Dimitri, I talked to you in Discord earlier. It's like I compared him to Daniel, but in a 2019 form.
You could say that, yeah. I mean, I think Dimitri is still kind of likable though, like compared to more than Hawk, in my opinion. Because I feel like Dimitri's like wanting the more peaceful way of fighting, whereas Hawk is like the more brutal way of fighting.
Dimitri's also a cautionary tale of even good people can easily go across the line, as we saw in season 2, episode 9. Like there was no reason to do that. I would have thought of he would have been the last person to do that, but just to me it brought to the example of even good, well-intentioned people, if they're pushed far enough, they can do really horrible things to other people.
And the craziest part about that is that they're former best friends too. So it's like all of a
Yeah,
sudden this happened. It
there's
just
I think there was even I think even just a bit earlier in that episode, there were slow attempts to okay, maybe we're at competing dojos, but we can still be friends. We still have these same interests in mind. There's no reason why we should be essentially at each other's throats for from here on out. So that the way that you pivot, you compare that to moments later where he's bearing all his sin to Eli's sins in front of the rest of the class is like, why? There was no need for that.
there really wasn't, and like it goes to show what like karma can do to a person
Mm-hmm.
too. It's like, oh, you try to do something, but it's in the end it's just gonna bite you in the butt, you know.
I will say they're the initiators of the great fight scene in episode 5, though.
Oh, the mall scene. We
The mall scene was amazing.
I actually that was actually one of the next things I wanted to talk about before, but I wanted to give an honorable mention to my man Stingray because I thought he was hilarious in season two.
I figured he was there for comic relief, but the he got I did appreciate his one moment in the woods. That was I was definitely not expecting that result.
And also, like, I knew that actor too. He's from a couple of big films. I Tanya with Margot Robbie. She was in.
Oh,
He
okay.
was in. He was also in Richard Jewell, which was directed by Clint Eastwood.
Oh, yes. Okay. Now, yeah. Okay, that makes sense now. But yeah, just as once he was brought once he was brought in, because he was he was a result of the fair, right?
Yes, when he saw, well, he was already a big fan because he saw the karate tournament in season one, but
Oh, okay.
but in the fair, that's when pushed him to join
That
Cobra
pushed him to
Kai.
join Cobra Kai. But yeah, once he once part of the lessons is like, and then he had his thing at the in the woods. It was like, that was amazing. That was like a big payoff for him, and then him as a security guard. It's like, why is the school hiring him? There's no way they would hire him. Oh, yep, they hired him. Okay, sure, let's go for it.
When he said like, "It's okay, sir, I got this," and then just
I
starts
got this.
beating the shit out of kids.
Yeah. Oh no. He ignores he being the crap out of only other than Cobra Kai kids. That's the thing. It's like what what else? What? This is not a shock to me. Of course, this is happening.
And then he gives his high five to Hawk while in that fight too.
Yeah. I was just shaking my head at that scene too.
Oh man. So moving on to the fight scenes though, I want to talk about the fight scenes of this show cuz they're really well choreographed in my opinion. Like they're really well choreographed for a show like this. I think one of the biggest major fight scenes we saw in season 1 was probably when Johnny was beating up the teenagers who was harassing Miguel outside the store, I would say. That's when
Yeah.
our first
There's
taste.
there was really no that much fighting in season one, other than outside of the tournament.
Yeah, and then I would say the next major one would probably be the cafeteria scene when Miguel
Yeah.
starts to beat them up this time. And then I would say the biggest one would probably be the tournament, obviously, at
Hmm.
the end of season one. Did you like the tournament in season one?
I like the tournament just because it brought up some nostalgia feelings for me. Just because you're reliving that big climax of the movie, and but then yeah, the fight I totally forgot about the cafeteria where that goes viral, and then he brings in all the initial wave of students. But yeah, I did like the tournament, not the tournament, the fighting at the in the mini mall parking lot, because that kind of showed what Johnny could be.
Yeah, and then I would say season two dials them up to 11 with the
Oh,
fights.
I think the producers saw the reaction to everybody like, oh, this is gold, and then they were able to produce more opportunities where it could be semi believable but still produce an epic choreographed scene.
Like the mall scene we were
The
talking
mall
about.
scene, the mall scene was amazing, and just the bar fights.
The bar fight in episode 6, yeah. That was amazing too.
Yeah,
It was brutal. A lot more
that was
brutal than I
it
thought.
was very brutal. I could see that being. You can easily believe that could be a bar fight in any given city, but I mean, just the way that was executed was great.
Yeah,
And that was
that.
very resonant because here's Johnny fighting with his former clan member, I mean, his dojo members, and the just the bond between all of them. It takes greater meaning maybe a couple minutes afterwards, but it just shows how much he really cared, how much of a bond he shared with these men.
Yeah. Um. That was that episode in particular, episode 6 of season 2, was a great episode because it was
That
like.
was yeah, that was great. It was so much a lot of meaning for Johnny because you really didn't notice his other the other people of Cobra Kai back when he was competing, and just see the relationship he has with those people, and it's just not a thing. It really was his entire world essentially, and that's probably why it drove him to. It was so important for him to he instilled the discipline in the kids. But yeah, that was a very good episode, and then hinted at what Kreese could do, but you kind of knew that already. But it just maybe he was able to hear from other people that even his teammates say, even they say you cannot trust him. You got to get him out as soon as possible.
Yeah, and then I believe in the same episode it was when they were wondering who trashed the Miyagi Do, and then they were like, and then Kreese. One of my favorite moments with Kreese was like, it was Hawk, then it was Miguel, then it was everybody, essentially. Like that to me is just like he's trying to instill like them being ruthless,
They're
essentially.
them being ruthless. They are one. Doesn't matter who did it. The clan did it. The dojo did it. If one member does it, everybody did it. You're all responsible for each other, essentially.
Yeah, and that
But yeah, I was surprised when he said Hawk's like, what? He's really calling him out? It's like
and then when he said Miguel's name, he was like, "Wait, what?"
yeah, exactly.
Dude, like that to me is like knowing when Kreese is just trying to go into the kids' heads, you know? Like that was just like, oh shit. and then
Yeah.
and then I want to talk about another episode as well. Wait. Before we get to talk about another episode, I actually want to talk about the last episode with the fight scene in the school. Probably the biggest fight scene you would say out of the whole show so far.
Oh, it's amazing. That took for a half an hour episode. To me that episode flew by, just because of so many moving parts. Essentially, you're jumping from one scene. You're jumping into a classroom where Dimitri's hiding out, and then it spills out back into the hallway. But then you're going back to Tori and Sam. But then another Miguel and Robbie in the culmination of everything. It's like I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't stop watching. I need to take a breath.
Like it's just there was a lot of great shots too, like one take shots. Like
Mm-hmm.
like it was just so well choreographed. I mean, logically speaking, you're probably thinking, where the fuck are the security guards in this in this school?
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like there should have been security all over this place by now, or even the one teacher who tries to valiantly try to break up the fight gets punched. It's like I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's just for the pure spectacle and shot cinematography of it. It was pretty amazing for a 30-minute episode.
imagine if it was 30 hours of that shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure if they had that could be like half a movie if they wanted it to be.
Oh man. Was there was one episode in particular that you and I talked about. It was pretty emotional. Season 1, episode 5. That it was when Daniel starts to reflect on his past and even visits Miyagi's grave.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of that moment?
I I got goosebumps just I as soon as they showed the cemetery, I immediately got goosebumps because there was only one obvious person that he could be visiting, and yeah, that's nothing more that I can say. I told C in Discord is like this is I'm already the scene literally just started and I'm already getting goosebumps because it truly shows the importance of how of a figure Mr. Miyagi was to Daniel, both in the movies and then implied in his later years. It's just this was a man who really gave him not maybe not purpose, but really gave him direction that he probably would have never had if they never met.
Yeah, and I feel like it definitely lies on the beauty of the movies, especially the first one, because
Oh
it's
yeah, because
like
otherwise you have no. If you've never seen the movies, you have no context for it. You have no context of why the scene is so important and why it emotionally resonates with a lot of people who have that background.
Yeah, and then I love the little tribute at the end of the episode too. They made to Pat Morita as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, they finally acknowledged. They actually acknowledged him in this episode. It was like, I was watching that with my dad, and we both got kind of emotional watching that because it was Mr. Miyagi, and like he was one of the, you could say one of the greatest mentors in film. You could say, like he was an amazing character in the Karate Kid series, and like just seeing that scene alone like gave me a little bit of a emotional break there.
Yeah, I mean, I knew where they, like I said, I knew where they were going and who Daniel was visiting, but it just didn't matter. It it's that emotional connection that they established way back in the '80s. It's like this is the duo of that time.
Yeah, and what I love about the show a lot is that it manages to focus on every character, give them a real arc, and
Mm-hmm.
like still like have emotional payoff by the end of it. You could say.
I like you said at the beginning. It was like I started when they started showing flashbacks with the movie clips. It was like, oh gosh, are they going to really rely on just allusions and of retellings of what happened back in the movies? But no, they yes, they were there, but they used it to either drive a point or kind of remind you of what the character's motivations are, and it used it forward as the story progresses. It's not like some shows these days where they're just trying to retell the same beats that they did back in the day, but it served an actual purpose.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, I would even say they were the flashbacks of the films were used like sparingly. I would say.
No, but yeah, when they first popped on back in the first season, it was like, okay, is this going to be a thing now? Where they going to just intersperse these? But that was my fear when they first started. But then like I said, they were sparingly used then on. But like as an initial viewer who coming to it fresh is like, oh gosh, is this going to be a thing now? But yeah,
Yeah.
just the whole Mr. Miyagi connection, and then coming back to his place, which kind of defies my logic. But just the way they reintegrated the lore, but then drove it to a more present day purpose was a good way of doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all that because the show like the show honestly quite surprised me with how it handled its character development
Oh, same
because
here.
I was expecting something like something teen angsty and stuff like that. That was the worry I had. And it still does have the teen drama, but it's not like super duper forced though. I would say it's
It doesn't.
still
It does focus on the teens, but it doesn't ignore the adult characters. They're
yeah,
more
yeah.
they're more in they're kind of in the background, yes, but they at least have some, more about their character, just being just here's Daniel, go do this, blah blah blah, and then you back full time to the teens. They have some impact. They have major impact on the story.
Yeah, and I I would say combined with all that, with the amazing cinematography of the fight scenes and stuff like that, the show just managed to surpass like all my expectations of it, honestly. Because I was just expecting something kind of on the side
Yeah.
of things, but
Well, the
no.
one scene of Daniel walking on the beach was just there's like three lines of dialogue. I forget. It's after he goes to I forget when he just talks to a fisherman in the ocean, and that reminds him of Mr. Miyagi. But then just that whole shot of him just walking on the beach and those three lines of dialogue with the fisherman was just moving for me.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of great shots in the show, especially too. Um, was there any other specific moments that sticked out to you in the show that you feel?
Mm, trying to. It's amazing that I only watched this maybe a month ago, and the cement mixing scene was amazing. It's like
Oh
there's no way
yeah,
a sane person would get away with this, but it works.
yeah, the cement training scene. Oh my goodness
Yeah.
gracious. I don't think I would
The
survive that.
oh, I definitely would. I wouldn't. I would probably get instantly stuck in the cement when it hardens. Uh, I would say the wood competition was pretty good too.
Oh, the capture the flag
Got to capture a
woods.
flag
Yeah,
event.
that was funny. I mean, especially with the ending, how we talked about Stingray and stuff like
Stingray,
that.
yeah.
That was funny, because you think yourself, oh, Miguel totally won this, because he just
Right.
defeated everybody, and then fucking Stingray comes out of nowhere.
And it proves both points. It's like you've got to be on your guard at all times, and strike hard, strike fast, strike first, whatever.
And no mercy.
No mercy. Yeah. Like Stingray was very smart. You figured he was a kind of especially especially when he arrives, like, oh, I was here late, I was stuck in traffic, kind of thing. He's like, okay, whatever. Oh, wait, what?
It's so funny how the
So
payoff
great.
happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, the show like manages to give off funny and great moments like that. Oh shoot, I should have mentioned before, but the fair scene I thought was pretty cool too. Like
Oh yeah.
just Daniel first wanting to show off Miyagi Do, and then fucking Johnny just comes in with the metal music, Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai.
It shows it distinctly shows the two dojo styles in one shot, right? Daniel is all about this humbleness, and we can just show the pure skill and athleticism of karate, which kind of what I subscribe to. But here's Johnny and Cobra Kai coming with this big spectacle of a show, and it's like, oh my god.
And then the money shot had to be Johnny hitting a bunch of fire bricks at the end of it.
Yeah, I think the best part was just, I guess, after they just show the ice blocks melting. After the band's like, this is not. They can't do anything about it. They just walk away and show the ice blocks melting. Like, that's perfect.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Can't do anything else after that.
I should have mentioned this before, but William Zabka, who plays Johnny, is such an incredible actor in the show, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, he's very good.
Some people even mention like how underrated of an actor he is because nobody really talks about him until this show came out, and it's like, oh, he is actually a really good actor.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's so many great stuff to talk about this show and stuff like that. But I want to move on to our season 3 predictions already, if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
Um, so they just I actually just sent you this yesterday, but they released
I
the release date.
literally, yeah, I watched it maybe 2 hours before this started.
Oh, you watched the teaser that they showed as well?
No, I just whatever you sent me for the season 3 and the season 4 announcement.
Yeah, and then they showed little clips of season 3
Mm-hmm.
in that trailer. So season 3, we have an official date. It's coming out January 8th of 2021. Um, and we also got to see a few footage clips of season 3. The
Mm-hmm.
footage we saw was actually kind of intriguing because it's like, oh shit, things are really going down the shitter for a lot of people. It seems
Mm-hmm.
like you see Johnny beat up and like drunk. You see Daniel being mopey and stuff like that. You see, the most interesting shot to me was Robbie going to prison. I was like, oh shit. Okay then.
I mean, he did send Miguel over the rail and sustained potentially life-altering injury. So that was to be expected.
I mean, very much so. I was like, oh shit. Robbie's is actually getting consequences for his actions now. So it's like, oh shit. And then you see Kreese actually having a bloody nose as well. He seems like he's getting beaten up, and then you see at the end of it Miguel waking up from his surgery. So there was actually a little teaser before they showed this footage where it showed a heartbeat sensor and then the heartbeat flat rating essentially. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody just assumed like, oh shit, is Miguel dead? Please tell me Miguel doesn't die in this season. But clearly in the footage you see him wake up. So so I get we assume he's alive then for this season.
Mm-hmm.
So what can you predict what's gonna happen in this season? You feel like?
I'm wondering how. I really wondering how. I'm wondering how Daniel comes. What's his reaction to all that ensues? Because my feeling as season two ended, and we see Kreese training the students in the back area of Cobra Kai. I'm thinking, oh, they're gonna make the showrunners are gonna make a push of Cobra Kai comes back stronger than ever in season three, and my kind of hope was okay, Johnny and Daniel essentially putting aside whatever angst they had with each other towards, and I'm maybe hoping another character, Amanda, hoping you can kind of like brokering a peace deal between just like, okay, you two have your thing, but both of you should recognize that Cobra Kai is a threat to not only to you two, but to essentially the stability of the high school and the community. So you two need to just put aside your differences and take essentially Cobra Kai on. Season three, I'm hoping it's more of maybe introspection on Johnny's part, kind of seeing. Yeah, we see Johnny getting drunk, and understandably so, at the end of season two. And I'm just hoping that maybe more of an introspective self, and then maybe kind of picking himself off the mat again to confront Kreese. And Kreese getting a bloody nose didn't mean anything because Kreese can get punched by his students and he wouldn't bat an eye.
You know what I'd like to say about Cobra Kai in a way is that they're kind of like the original Star Wars trilogy in a way. Because the first one is like A New Hope, where Cobra Kai returns, Johnny's back up in his feet and stuff like that. Then in season two, it's like Empire
The
Strikes Back.
downfall.
Yeah, it's the downfall where Kreese comes back and takes over everything. And maybe season three will be like Return of the Jedi, you know, like where everybody comes together.
That'd
And
be great way of looking at it. I will say I told you my power rankings, the character we hadn't talked about, Daniel's wife Amanda. Oh gosh, she was like the audience voice throughout the whole season too. It's like trying to talk some sense into mostly Daniel, who escalated kind of most of the things between the two parties involved. Is like Amanda's like trying to rein him in, essentially trying to bring some sense into him. So maybe Amanda becomes a somewhat key player in season three as well.
I hope so because I actually really like her character too.
Oh, I love her character.
She really is the voice of reason for everybody, essentially, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I hope for in season three is that we see a tournament as well. I want
Oh
to see
gosh,
another karate tournament, but it has to be even more epic than season one's tournament. Like I want,
bigger stadium,
yes,
bigger
bigger stadium,
crowd.
bigger crowd. It has to be like like the Super Bowl of karate tournaments, you know?
Yeah,
Bec-
like more of a state championship kind of thing, or bigger regional
yeah,
championship.
I really want that to happen because
That would be epic in the way the way the two dojos or before Daniel folded.
well, not just those two JoJos, but I want to see JoJos from like every other school or like state or like stuff like that.
Yeah,
I would love to see
they're
that.
all gunning for Cobra Kai.
Yeah, but then like at the end of well, probably you probably know it'll probably be like Cobra Kai and then probably what maybe Daniel and Johnny will probably go form up a dojo together.
Mm.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, that's what I
what's
keep thinking. There's only I can't think beyond season three right now. That now there's announced season four. So yeah, maybe you're
yeah.
right. Maybe it's a bigger tournament, but Cobra Kai still comes up on top, and then Johnny and Daniel finally come to grips with it.
Don't forget
I
also.
still
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, it's like I really the moment I really felt bad for Johnny and I knew the producers were throwing salt in the wound is when he throws the phone away. He doesn't even look at the end of season 10 or episode 10. He, the phone rings. I don't think he even looks at the phone. He just hears it ringing and just throws it away, attempting to throw it into the ocean. And you see the parting shot of I think Allie is her name.
Ali, yeah,
Yeah,
Ali.
just the request, the friend request is like, oh, that's just rubbing salt into the wound, even though he doesn't see it.
So that was actually one of the two things I wanted to talk about with season three is that Ali might be making a return from we
It
have,
makes no it makes no sense for her to come back.
but that's what they're hinting at though, right? With the
I
friend
know
request.
I know I know that's probably what they're hinting at, but narratively, it doesn't make any sense for her to come back to rekindle friendship between Johnny and essentially and Daniel. Narratively, it doesn't make any sense.
Probably not, but what I'm thinking is that like obviously she'll return and then she'll
Yeah.
be like a voice of reason to like Amanda is, and that she'll be like at the tournament like cheering on for Johnny and Daniel. You could say, yeah, you could say that, right?
But then up until episode 10, I was thinking, okay, maybe he's finally or Miguel's mom was gonna be that voice of reason for Johnny until the instance of episode 10 take place. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just when he's starting to get his life into a place where he wants it to be, then this upends everything.
It just ripped apart from him already as soon as
And
you.
that's when I truly felt bad for Johnny. Up until that point, it's like, yeah, you're trying to turn your stuff around, but you're doing some things that I just cannot that's just upending it. And then I was going back and forth on how I really should feel about him. But then episode 10 is just like everything that he worked for up until this point was taken away in one moment.
Yeah. And then one more thing I definitely want to talk about within season three is that they did confirm from some clips that Daniel is returning to Japan, which is another Karate Kid 2 reference.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think is gonna happen? People are saying Chosen's gonna return in the series.
See, I have to revisit. I have to rewatch Karate Kid 2 to see what happened in Japan, but I think I read that Tamlin Tomita's also supposedly had interest in coming to the series. So
Yes,
maybe
he does.
so maybe she plays a part of it too. Maybe they focus on kind of Daniel's. He just needs to get away from everything that occurred.
Well, yeah. What I'm thinking is it's like a reflection period.
Yeah, he takes his family and here we're going to Japan and like get away from all this.
Or what if it's just him?
That could be, but I could. Yeah, because Amanda can run the business, but I think Amanda would maybe just try to recenter everybody.
Also, Sam was pretty fucked up at the end of season 2, so it's like, yeah, it probably needs to take care of her too. They probably don't want to go on a vacation to Japan after all that.
Not necessarily like vacation, but just an escape hatch for everybody. Just like, okay, as a family, we need to get away from the storm that Daniel created, and we need to focus on ourselves. And what better way to go to Japan, to Okinawa? Who knows? But yeah, I really like we touched on earlier. Aisha, I really want her more involved because I think she not only on the reconciliation part between her and Sam, but she gave, I think, it needed diversified character, which there really wasn't.
I mean, and also Miguel's best friend too, so she could help out Miguel a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Oh yeah, maybe he kind of some support for him, and the big question that is on my mind, not that we're talking about, is what the heck happened to Tori? She like totally she like disappeared.
Well, I think in the teaser they show her for a bit.
Oh, I didn't. That's probably why.
Yeah, they show her for a bit in the season 3 trailer, and then it shows her in the Cobra Kai dojo training, I think. So obviously she's
Yeah,
still with Cobra Kai.
I thought that was her, but I thought she would lay low essentially for a while after.
Doesn't seem like it.
No. That's why I'm thinking if Daniel's in Japan, maybe it's like the whole family.
So yeah, we'll see what happens in season 3 on January 8th,
I
though.
like I told you, it's like I really wasn't expecting to get sucked into this series because of, you know, like my biggest complaint about the franchise rebooting is like, one, there's no new there, you fall back on these characters who probably need the work, but then I think I saw the first episode of Fuller House on Netflix. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is so horrible, but how has it lasted for this many seasons? And that was my trepidation in coming to Cobra Kai, and then I see it's like, this is amazing. I want more of this now, and I can't have it.
I just think it does character development more than better than other rebooted shows, you could say.
Yeah, totally.
Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah, okay. But it had a when it had its lighthearted moments, it really had its lighthearted moments with the whole billboard incident and the brief glimpse into Daniel's auto competition. That was a fun thing to see.
Yeah, and
Before,
like
before
I definitely feel like we're getting more light. We could get more lightheartedness in this season,
it
but
needed a, season two definitely got a lot darker, and it needed maybe maybe not total balance, but maybe just sprinkle it in like we had it in season one. Because
yeah,
you had the dopey cousin who causes Robbie to come in, and you saw his auto competition, so that was kind of fun to see. So it just, I don't know, that was definitely missing in season two.
yeah, but I feel like now with season 3 coming soon, like I feel like we're gonna get a lot more answers to our questions. I feel like
Oh yeah.
we definitely have a lot of questions after season 2, but we're only like 3 months away from season 3, so I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure we would want to do a season 3 spoiler review when we're done with it, right?
Yeah.
Because I want to talk about it probably when it's out. But yeah,
I'm not binging it, so you might have to wait a while for me.
it's all good. But yeah, I'm pretty. So I guess that's our thoughts on Cobra Kai as a whole. We absolutely love this show. We highly recommend it. It's on Netflix right now, season 1 and 2, and season 3 is coming out, like we said, in January 8th, 2021, and season 4 is renewed. So we are getting a season 4 definitely as well. So can't wait for all this Cobra Kai content. All right. Well,
Yep.
thank you again, Yoshi, for taking an hour of your time to do this Cobra Kai review with me, because I've always wanted to talk
Thank you
about
for
this.
having me. I had to talk about something.
And I know, like, I wanted to talk about this show for a while on my podcast, but I didn't really find a way until now. And then I know it just came on Netflix, and you got to see it, so I was like, okay, this is probably a perfect opportunity to take this review now further. But yeah,
Yeah.
again, thank you so much. We'll definitely be back with the season 3 review whenever we watch it, all of it, and whenever it comes back. And I definitely want to do more podcasts with you sometime, not just on Cobra Kai, but probably like other stuff. There's a lot of video game stuff out there lately.
Yep.
I would love to talk about Nintendo stuff with you if they ever do more directs and stuff like that. Like if they do a major direct, we should do one. I feel like a big direct,
Mhm.
and then I would love to talk about it with you.
Yeah.
All right, well that's it for the show today of One Take. Thank you guys so much. As always, hit subscribe if you liked what you see. Give it a thumbs up if you liked what you saw, and I'll see you guys next time. See you later, guys.